Let's share this. Okay, welcome everyone to our first Regional Hubs Assembly. My name is Julia Buchholz, I'm the CMO of Blocksquare. And we created the Regional Hubs, or the aim of this assembly here today is, first of all, to bring our community, our ambassadors together, so everyone can also meet other people involved in the project and also ask important questions. And I hope you get all your answers here today. Regional hubs in general form a very, very important marketing arm for Blocksquare, but also for the global RWA industry as we see it. First of all, we have a new short intro video of Blocksquare, which I would like to play quickly. This is something you guys can use as well for your clients, for your websites, for your social media, wherever you want to use it. It just gives this short introduction.
In the dynamic world of 2024, real-world assets, or RWAs, are capturing attention like never before. And at the forefront of this revolution is Blocksquare, the leading provider of tokenization infrastructure for real estate. Imagine a world where properties aren't just bought and sold once in a blue moon, but where their value can be traded effortlessly, where transactions happen in seconds, not decades. That's the power of tokenization, and Blocksquare is making it a reality.
With Blocksquare, any business can tap into this transformative technology. Whether you're a real estate company looking to modernize your operations or an investor eager to explore the possibilities of RWA and DeFi, Blocksquare has the tools you need. White label marketplace solutions and APIs allow you to launch investment platforms, seamlessly connect investors to tokenized real estate deals, and participate in the exciting world of DeFi with Ocean Point and BST, where nearly 100 properties have already been brought onto the blockchain. Ready to dive into the future of real estate? Join Blocksquare's Telegram community and follow our social media channels for all the latest updates and insights. Blocksquare, revolutionizing real estate, one token at a time.
Okay, as just mentioned in the video, real-world asset tokenization is a big new topic, which is quite trending at the moment as well, based on all the support of BlackRock and other big institutions. As everything that is any innovation that's coming to a new industry, like a massive industry like real estate, of course, is bringing a lot of opportunity. We're here to lead the front, hopefully, with our global ambassador teams as well, and to create local communities, because real estate business is local, and a lot of people might find RWA because they are in crypto and all of that, but then they feel quite alone, and they don't really know what to do next, or they would like to get some support from other people as well, and create this, find others with the same mindset, and create the go-to, find some go-to people as well to drive each other to take the step into this new industry. The goal of the hub is basically not only, of course, to create more business for Blocksquare, but also to secure or create new professional opportunities for either people from the real estate industry who want to step into this new features they can apply, or for people who are in crypto but might want to learn more about RWA and find more opportunities to work in the industry in the future as well. As I mentioned, build global community and build local communities and networks. Blocksquare itself is an infrastructure provider. Our communities are global. We tokenize our properties in over 21 countries. and our members in our online communities, they're from all around the world. So now it's basically coming down to the people to create their own local communities and connect to each other, which is a part of Blocksquare's decentralization plan as well. Since the beginning, we always had this vision for Blocksquare and Ocean Point to create this decentralized infrastructure for the future. And the more the communities are growing, the more say is going to the community, and the more opportunities is coming for the community as well. This is where really the ambassadors are playing a really crucial role to achieve this goal of decentralization. And while you're learning, you can earn as well. It doesn't mean that you're joining as an ambassador and you need to know everything about Blocksquare, yet you need to know everything about real estate tokenization. That as long as you have a basic understanding, you can read all the documents, you can learn the basics of RWA, and then while you're doing this, you can start creating and sharing it with your network as well and with other people, because as long as you know the basics, you know already more than most of the other people out there, to be honest, in this space. So building community is valuable, and community also brings a lot of opportunity. And I would like to use here the example how I got started back in 2016 when I heard the first time about Bitcoin. And I was very lucky that I found my local mentor, like a friend of mine, living in the same city, and she started to explain it to me a little bit better. But while I started to learn about Bitcoin, I noticed that I was part of the 1% who actually knew about Bitcoin. So most people didn't know. So I had an advantage compared to others because I knew already more than they did. So I started to run little webinars. I started to know, and I called them Bitcoin basics. So I didn't have to profile myself as an expert or anything. I just shared with what I knew. And at the beginning, I was scared as well that people might ask questions that I don't know. So I was lucky I joined up with someone who had more knowledge than I had. So if someone had these difficult questions, she was jumping in, she would answer them. And after doing this for a little bit online, I decided I want to meet other people in my city and share these opportunities. So I started to run the first meetup groups in Perth back in 2016. And the first meetup I did was with 5 people, and all of them were my friend. I literally had to beg them for coming to my first meetup, and they were so nice, and they did come, and they loved it. They loved what they saw, and they wanted more. So they came to the next one as well, and they came with like 2 or 3 friends. Out of sudden, we were like 8 people, and we just started to run this like twice a week. We started to run every 2 weeks. We started to run a little meetup first in this coffee shop, and then it started to grow. So we then decided, we asked the local pub if we could use their room, their bigger rooms upstairs, and they said yes, no problem. So they sponsored the location for us, and then over the time, this just started to grow because people just started to tell all their friends about it, and it just was this word of mouth, and more and more people were coming in. After 3 months, we had like 100 people coming to every single time we were running a meetup, and then over the time, we were building this database. So every single time we would launch an event, all we need to had to do is push the button and send out the invitations to all these people who were interested in crypto and wanted to join, wanted to network and wanted to learn more. And so it became easier over time. And that was then as well where at this point we then started to do cooperation, collaborations with other meetup groups, like, where there were a lot of smaller groups. There were also business groups and so on. So we started to collaborate with them. And then the time came where the first, blockchain projects in Perth came up as well. So that in that stage, that was Power Ledger. So I met these guys, and they knew I had a big community. I was organizing all these events, I understood crypto, and my background was marketing. So they offered me to run the first ICO in Australia with them. And nobody knew how to do it. Nobody had ever done it before, because, as I said, it was the first one back in the day. And we managed to do it, and we raised 35 million in 2 months. And that was like a completely new world that was opening there. And then after that, all other projects. And 2 years ago, I joined Blocksquare. But what I'm trying to say is that having a community, having that network, building up, you never know who you meet, you never know what opportunities are coming with this RWA now, real world asset tokenization. Your goal might be that you maybe in the future want to operate your own marketplace. So it would be great to start building a community now with, potentially thousands of people interested in this topic. Or you might want to, become a advisor for the real estate industry who is like, specialized in that kind of stuff. Or you might want to, I don't know, many different things, what you can do, where you want to go with your profession, if you want to go in this direction. So meetups and community building can be a great opportunity for any kind of business you want to build, on top of what you can get from Blocksquare doing so. So this is basically the advantage that I didn't have in the past. But now basically with Blocksquare, we are offering to support anyone who would like to start a community in real world asset tokenization, specifically for real estate, and who needs the support, and we are here to help. And I think Blocksquare is a great partner, because we tokenized so far over 100 properties in 21 countries. We have at the moment 11 marketplace operators in our ecosystem. And so we have had already like a lot of talks, conversations, and experience we can share with new interests. And we give you all like a range of tools that you can use as a product you can offer to your community as well. So you can not only build the community for yourself, but you also can offer them an entire range of projects or of products already. Now, officially, the Regional Hub competition didn't start yet. However, we have already the first hubs who actually started to organize themselves, started to structure themselves, and started to also run already the first meetup. So, for example, the first Regional Hub got active just after there was a global, like an international Web3 conference, where I was also speaking for Blocksquare. And then the day after the conference, we did a 2-hour meetup that the ambassadors organized, and where we had altogether 45 signups. We had 30 people coming, so you always have to calculate with, of course, not everyone is coming, but it worked out quite well, because we actually had the room capacity only from 30 people, so that worked actually quite good for us. And after the meetup, basically, we created this little memory here. So we wrote a blog about the meetup, which you can read as well on the Blocksquare blog, and we shared that with everyone who basically joined, and we created this little story about it. This is our memory of the first RWA meetup. And I'm just playing quickly this short video so you can get an intro as well for the vibe a little bit. So as you can see, this is very community driven. We got basically others to join as well. So some of the ambassadors, some businesses. So for example, OBI is a crypto education business, and tech stack is education for real estate professionals, blockchain. Then here our Ocean Point banners. Then we had CryptoSense, which is an crypto analyst company out of Perth, who basically joined us voluntarily to actually to help to organize this event. So we give everyone also the opportunity to actually present their services as well. So it's not only about Blocksquare and Ocean Point. It's also about, you know, if you have a business that goes in hand with it, why wouldn't you present that as well if you already get like all these people in the room? So you can really open this up for all your services you're offering, as long as it is not in competition with Blocksquare. that would be a different story, but because we're sponsoring this. But here in this case, it all goes well and in hand. And what we did was we were looking, okay, who in Perth already tokenized their properties, who already has been using Ocean Point for a while. And we were bringing these people together on a panel, and everyone was just discussing their experience with it. And then also we had a presentation from our regional chair. She was talking about how she always participated for the last 2 years in the Ocean Point ecosystem, in the Learn to Earn activities and her community campaigns she was running and so on. And then we had Mitch presenting about the challenges in RWA, so more the educational side of Blocksquare. So everyone had played their little role. So it was not like one person is to stand there and does all the work on the day. It was a really nice community effect and a really nice vibe of all kind of different people. So it's now you can already get started to like, don't wait until Cody says, all right, the regional hubs are open, because we had quite, I would say probably a month or something where we really started to, all the ambassadors tried to get the head around it and to understand it better. And there's so many documents to read. There's so much to read about the projects. Meetups and events need preparation time and all these kind of things. So it's never too early to start, let's say it like that. And I hope, and you can start very, very simple with just sharing what you know. And you have an entire team of Blocksquare behind you. You have Cody as our regional hub manager, who's your go-to person to answer all your questions. But as you see, we have now over 30 people who are all working on the project, who can help you to get started in that journey, basically, as well. And yeah, that is it from my side. I just wanted to give you this little intro in the community side of things. And now let's go forward. Denis prepared a presentation with a bit more insights about Blocksquare.
Thank you, Julia. I think it was great to hear your presentation, and especially I love hearing the story about your early beginnings in 2016 with the Bitcoin hub that you started, and then the amazing things that happened afterwards that you never imagined would have happened. For those who don't know me, I'm Denis. I'm the CEO of the company Blocksquare that is starting this regional hubs initiative. I have this presentation in front of me, but first of all, I'd like to thank everybody who came to this session, to taking your time, valuable time to learn more about regional hubs and how this can be a pivotal moment, maybe in your careers or in the careers of people that you know. So, real estate, as you know, as an asset class, is a big asset class. In fact, is the largest one in the world, and it's so big that basically, when you combine it with all other asset classes, it's still they still can't compare to the sheer size of real estate. But as such, and the potential that it brings, especially when we think of bringing the value of real estate onto Web3 and all the benefits that this might create in the crypto space, in the Web3 realm. There's also challenges in the real world that real estate is facing. And those challenges, amongst others, is also the concentration of capital. By our research, most capital around the world that's invested every year into real estate assets, and it's been like this for 20 years now. The data is almost the same with every year that passes, COVID or no COVID. That capital goes into just 60 cities worldwide. You might be living in one of those cities, and the reason you're living there might be as well the opportunity that comes with money being invested in a hub, in a city that falls under those that category. But unfortunately, there's thousands of markets outside of it that don't have the same conditions. The infrastructure there is not as well built. The availability of homes, of living space, of quality living space, it's maybe lower. The commercial space is not, or the is not available, and so these markets lack, consequently, liquidity, because investors like to stick where other investors are. I come from a city like that, Ljubljana, which is a great city to live in. It has a lot of things, and it also doesn't have a lot of things. But liquidity for real estate assets between the size of, let's say, 3 million to maybe 30, there's very scarce liquidity there, and deals drag on for years, even before an investor can exit from the asset and receive liquidity. The reason for it is that there's not many investors in that category, while above that number, there's obviously funds and larger investors being interested. And on the lower end, it's individuals, the retail market, let's say, of investors looking for homes or for maybe a second investment property. Now, we're all here gathered today because we have, however, the same or similar vision of how tokenization as a technology and approach might mitigate or might solve this issue that's present all around us. We're here because we believe that tokenization can change how we invest and access real estate as an asset class. Because we believe that in the next 5-10 years from now, most people with an internet connection will be able to invest in real estate. But Blocksquare makes it possible already today. The only problem is that nobody knows about it. There's people who don't know how this is being achieved today. And through the efforts of today, we can improve the models for tomorrow. And so today, Blocksquare as a company, we have tokenized almost 100 million worth of real estate assets in different countries. We have a modest number of marketplace operators. Some of them are not yet operational. And we have a great team of 35 people, divided between engineering, community, marketing, and business. We have a projection of 2 million of revenues for this coming year, 2024, and we have a token that connects an amazing community together. And that token has currently a market cap of 30 million. And it's creating certain opportunities for people involved, or for people who want to get involved, I would say. Now, this is all great. And what's more great is the market. The market is forecasting things to happen in the space of tokenizing real world assets. And real estate, where we are focusing, is part of that market. We now have some kind of, let's say, certainty, because there's institutions like Fidelity or BlackRock publicly speaking about this. When we started talking about this, people were afraid to talk about crypto, even more so about tokenizing real estate. Even the people in crypto were looking at me in a weird way, and then the people in the real world, in the real estate industry, doing the same. So I was caught in between those two. But meetups were actually a way for me to unblock the vision into a slightly more tangible reality. It was a meetup in New York where I was able to snatch 5 minutes to pitch about Blocksquare that opened up the possibility to basically start running a local meetup in Slovenia under the RWA flag. RWA at the time was an organization that was basically the only one talking about real estate and blockchain. And that kind of was a way for me to start getting a small community around this idea here in Slovenia. And then ultimately, it was those efforts that led me as well to co-found Blocksquare, not Blocksquare, but that was done earlier, but later on to co-found Fibri, which is an organization that today spans across 70 locations with local meetups talking about, blockchain and real estate. Now, this market, the numbers, the forecast, that's all great. But the problem here is that this market needs you. Tokenization needs you because with you, the knowledge that is required for tokenization to thrive can be shared. And the environment to share this is through events. Those events can be online, offline, and they create conversations. They create connections between like-minded people, and connections between people create business. So, as you know, Blocksquare has allocated 1 million BST to foster the growth of regional hubs and the knowledge sharing about tokenizing real estate with Blocksquare. So you can think of it as an extension. A regional hub can be thought of as an extension of Blocksquare, or on the other side, it could be thought of as an independent regional hub with its own community that is being sponsored by Blocksquare to achieve or to operate. It's something that most people, like Julia, when she started her meetup group, didn't have. She didn't have any support on a financial side. She had to figure it on her own. When I started the meetup, it was the same thing. I had to figure out how to compose the meetup on my own. Here, with some allocation of funds, hopefully these meetups can start running much faster than we were able to do it back in 2016, 17, and so forth. And we believe that this new real estate market will be powered by communities, by local communities with specific knowledge. And that knowledge can be transferred, as we said, through events, and it can be transferred then through business that happens, and ultimately through referrals. And all of this are being rewarded through the scheme of regional hubs. For organizing events, you can earn points. For creating business with Blocksquare, you earn points. And through referrals, through your ambassador agreement, you have certain incentives in place to create connections. And there's other ways of how we will be incentivizing regional hubs and ambassadors throughout the lifetime of this. Now, today I have an announcement to make, and actually two of them, and this is the first one. We believe that forming a regional hub with 5 members, 5 ambassadors, is very important. It's important for the longevity of that regional hub. However, starting up sometimes is very hard. Why? Because you have reported to Cody, and Cody has come back to us saying, I have ambassadors who are really eager, want to get started, but the problem they have is they don't have anybody else in the city to work with. There's not many ambassadors yet. People are scattered around the world. We still kind of believe that connecting with others makes things easier, but maybe sometimes starting on your own, it's easier than finding somebody else to join with. So from this moment on, you can engage in the first quarterly competition by forming your own regional hub alone or with a couple fellow ambassadors. But the rule that 5 ambassadors need to form a hub is lifted for the first quarter. Now, each ambassador, instead of the hub contributing 20,000 BST, each ambassador that is registered under a hub will contribute 4,000 BST, which means that if there's a a non-full membership hub, you will have, with 2 ambassadors, this is going to contribute 8,000 PST for that quarterly competition pot. Now, this allows you to build up into a full membership hub after you kick off and not before it. So you can start running, and in the 3 months' time, we are sure that more people will join through the events that you're organizing, that will see this as an opportunity and want to help you out reach new heights with bigger events, with more people, and so forth. So a question that we get a lot of times is how to score points. And basically how to learn the rule book. It's quite simple, actually. It's a combination between events, business, and referrals. On your own, you are rewarded for referrals, but those referrals that create business interactions, they are pointed. So you receive certain points by referring a new marketplace operator or bringing new property owners, or just educating people about BST and maybe creating some transactional volume on it. On the other side, you are rewarded for organizing events, and you can go live or online. It can be a small event or it can be a big event. Obviously, at the beginning, this is going to be like an event with 5, maybe 10 people. And then over time, this can evolve into something like Julia described, where hundreds of people would be coming to each time you organize a new event. And that's quite powerful, right? If you want to achieve like long-term engagement with your community, I believe that quality is more important than quantity. If you look at the scoring system, it rewards quantity, of course, but that quantity might last for maybe a couple of events. Maybe you can get away with 3 events with poor content, but in the end, people are going to stop coming to your to the events that the regional hub is posting, and the regional hub will die out. So put effort in creating a couple of events that really motivate people to come to the next one. That should be kind of this this primary goal of a regional hub's chair. Now, one of the things as well is to read the docs. Here's a QR code for those who haven't read it. You can scan it with your phone quite easily. And here's a test. Have you read the docs? When do hubs start earning points? All points earned during the time frame of 6 months prior to the activation of the first quarterly competition shall count towards the hub's final score. It means that the pointing system is already running. And we saw that many have not seen that this is happening. And it's important to point it out, to highlight it. And with the alteration that we've done and announced just today, where a single ambassador can start right away, we believe many of you will be kind of moving towards this. And last but not least, another announcement is a collaboration between Blocksquare and Fibri, where we have opted to sponsor the 2024 challenge that Fibri has started. And this is a challenge for people in the Fibri network to organize RWA meetups. So members of Fibri will be incentivized to organize meetups and talk about Blocksquare and the tokenization of real estate assets with their audiences. And we believe that this is going to drive further growth of our regional hubs and our base of regional ambassadors. So with applications closing in a month and a half, Q3 2024 will probably bring a lot more competition. So another motivation to start running right away. That's all from my end. Hope the session was informative. And I like to hand over the mic to Cody, who has very interesting numbers to share with you.
Yeah, hi guys. First off, I'm going to do a little presentation, but first off, I'd like to thank Julia and Dennis for their amazing presentations. Mine is not going to be as nice as theirs or as long. But uh, one thing I do notice, and I did want to state about that, is I actually have a couple ambassadors in here that I do not know. So if you're not an official ambassador, you guys can absolutely please sign up on Ocean Point website. Also, I have an older ambassador, Brent. I don't have an agreement for you. So maybe you check your emails. I don't know if you might not be getting my email. It might be going to your junk. But I will send you an email right after this presentation that will give you a link to the agreement. So if you're wanting to become an official ambassador, um, please go through the whole processes. Also, as Dennis noted, we can have now individual ambassadors act as hubs for the first quarter. And so let's go over some numbers real quick and then we'll kind of speak a little bit more on it. We have 56 official ambassadors, and those are people that have gone through the entire process and also signed the ambassador agreement. They are located in 20 countries. We technically have 3 official hubs formed, but that is in 2 different regions of the world. So we have 2 regions in 1 city. So we have the Africa region covered, and we have Australian region covered. Right now, we are looking hopefully to set up 1 more region in the world with an official hub. That way, we can launch this program started, getting it live. But that does not mean that you guys can't get started. As Dennis had just mentioned, you guys can start getting points and start hosting events already. In order to do that, you guys need to apply to be an official hub. So there's a link on our doc section. We're also on the Google Drive. If you have access to the Google Drive, click on the links document, and I have it on the below. It says Regional Hub application form. Sign up for that, and then that way you can be an official hub, whether you're by yourself or you have 2, 3 ambassadors, or you have a fully allocated hub, which is 5 ambassadors. So get that done. But as I was saying, we have 2 regions set up. We're looking for another region in America, South America, Europe, Asia, and all different points of the world. That way, we guys can get this program live. The next thing I wanted to quite do is I kind of want to give you guys an example of what's at stake here, the rewards. A lot of people ask how the rewards work or what the incentives are. We allocated a total of 1 million BST for this program. However, each hub that is in each region per quarter will allocate 20,000 BST per quarter. Individuals represent 4,000 BST per quarter. So just to give you guys a small example here, let's go over some numbers. An example, we got 3 hubs, we got 2 individuals. This would equal 68,000 BST for in a quarter. All right. So how this kind of breaks down is, one, if we just times that by the total price of the token today, that is technically $44,500 that we are given per quarter to this program. And so I wanted to give you guys another example of what it may look like for a hub. I'm going to use Hub A as an example. This is all hypothetical. I have no idea how much competition there's going to be over the quarter or so forth, but how much you guys are going to do. I just wrote some random numbers down, did the math. That way you guys can see how much you guys can earn. So let's just say Hub A, they did a little bit more than the other hubs. They did 4-person events, 3 online events. They tokenized 3 properties. They got 300 registrations throughout all of the events, and 150 people actually showed up. As we know, about half the people show up to the events that you put on. And so what this would equal is about 750 points, plus or minus. We would do the math. And let's just say they did 40% in total out of all of the hubs. So that would equate to 40% about the reward, which is about 27,540 Blocksquare tokens. And how this kind of breaks down within your hub, you might want to kind of look at the business models, the business strategies of each hub might look a little bit different. This is just a basic example. Let's just say they acquired about $2,000 worth of debt, $1,950 worth of debt. That gets paid off first before it gets distributed throughout the chair or throughout the hub. So they have 24,540 tokens left, and they distribute it, so forth. The chair did the most work. They set up the most events. So they allocated a little bit more to them. So they got 8,589 BST, which equals $5,582 with today's prices. Ambassador one did a little bit more than the other ambassadors. They had a couple more events. They got properties tokenized, or so forth. They got 25% of the reward, so they got 6,135 BST. Ambassador 2 and 3, they contributed their fair share. They showed up to the events, they helped run events, they helped emails, they did so forth, and they got 4,908 BST. As you see, the last ambassador got 0%. He was one that signed up with the hub and just kind of vanished, didn't really do anything, and they didn't get any rewards. So I just wanted to put that in there so you guys know, if you guys have an ambassador that signs up at first, does not participate, does not this, they don't have to be allocated rewards. It's all up to the regional hub, the chair, to all uh, contribute to what gets allocated at the end of the quarter. So that was just a small presentation for me. That way you guys can get some numbers down, get some ideas of how it kind of will be broken down, and so forth. Um, but what I want to do now is, if you guys have any questions, do have a couple questions. So I got one question. I guess this could be a question for Denis here.
Did I miss it?
Yeah, did you see it in the it's in the chat. It says how Blocksquare will deal with regulatory requirements. Every country has its own criteria.
Sure. So in terms of tokenizing, how we do the tokenization of a real estate asset with the corporate resolution, that process is kind of applicable on every jurisdiction. How those tokens are to be treated in a specific jurisdiction, that's jurisdiction that's not agnostic, let's say, because in each jurisdiction, regulators might treat them in a different way. In the US, it's 100% security as of now. In Europe, is somewhere between MiCA and MiFID II. And also the value of the tokenized asset is of importance here, especially, let's say, in Europe, MiFID II requirements are more strict in most countries when it comes to assets above 2 million. And here we're as well talking about then how to notarize and register a tokenized asset in the land registry, as we've done for the first time in Slovenia. But we're already in the process of making this into a scalable solution. So I would say the regulatory aspect is important, and that's why regional hubs are important, because having foot on the ground in a specific country enables people to go and talk with the relevant people there and just kind of open up business opportunities in that region through this conversations. Go ahead, Tara.
Hey everyone, hi Cody. Guys, so the question is, I've been following Blocksquare, been a fan. Julia helped convert me. I decided to walk the talk by tokenizing one of my own properties with Blocksquare. But I've not been able to come over the line because I have still some nervousness concerns. And I'm sensing that a lot of others will have it the same. So the question part one, someone in a DM, could you just get me over the line? And then we could document some of that discussion as FAQs. And I'm pretty sure other property owners may have something similar. Might help other ambassadors as well.
Yeah, I think that's a great suggestion. I guess in that tokenization process, you've been in contact with Daniel, right?
Yeah.
And we can definitely, schedule a call where maybe we discuss the pain points that you see, and try to figure out, how that could be mitigated for others, or answered for others, because as you mentioned, and that could be then shared within the regional hubs community, so that that others can kind of use it, utilize it in their efforts. Definitely a good suggestion.
So do I take a specific next step with Cody or Julia or you or Daniel?
I think what can be done, I would suggest, because in this particular instance, I would say connect with Cody, and Cody will arrange for the call to happen with Daniel and myself and maybe Julia, and we can then help you, or brainstorm on these ideas, because I think it's an important thing to write down, and if you are willing to kind of do those steps for others, it's going to be very beneficial. Yeah.
Can I be cheeky and ask a second question? So
Sure.
somebody in a specific geography was asking questions where, this annoying Zoom thumbs up thing, the fireworks go off. So somebody in a specific geography was asking, in some countries, the on paper value of the property is different to the transacted value. And all of you are nodding, so there are several countries in APAC that this happens. So again, these are the kind of nuances. If there is an opportunity for somebody to bring more people on with that dichotomy in value, then I think we may know a lot of property owners who might be interested.
Okay. I guess it's not a question, but it's more of an idea, I guess, right? But yeah, there's the property valuation business in general, as far as I know, is in many jurisdictions it's guesswork. Even in jurisdictions where this is much more standardized, yeah, it's still, there's discrepancies by plus minus 10%, even more, because certain assets don't have comparables, and a lot of times these calculations run by comparables or by other methodologies that might look at an asset only through cash flow, or they might look at an asset without any cash flow, just through its utility or asset type, like residential or commercial and so forth. So yeah, definitely a lot of work there. But what we see is that if there's efficient markets in place, tokenization can bring a new layer for valuation, because if you're able to prove that an asset is trading, or 10% of an asset is trading at a certain valuation, then why wouldn't that asset in its full be trading on that valuation? It's just about how many participants are involved in the ownership of that asset, right? So we see that tokenization is going to bring a lot of remodeling in the future, also to valuation as a business. Alvaro.
Hi.
Pleasure
Nice to meet you, Denis. Nice
Likewise.
to say hi again, Cody. Nice to meet everyone else. Yeah, I am actually been doing a lot of research around what are the opportunities. I am based in the Netherlands, in the Hague area, and I believe that I found an opportunity to start tokenizing land outside of big cities. There's a housing problem all over the major cities in Europe, So the idea is basically to acquire this land that is already being sold by private companies in parcels, small parcels. Their business model is basically purchasing large pieces of land and then making parcels for investors that basically want to speculate on the future price of the land. And specifically here in the Netherlands, land can be classified for agriculture or for building houses. So once you get approval or a license to build houses in an agricultural land, automatically you get like a 3 or 5x appreciation in the value of the land. So I want to venture on this and capture this opportunity. I talked with these realtors that are already selling these parcels, and they are hesitant of putting their own properties and tokenizing them through Blocksquare because it's something new and they actually don't really know how it works. So I do have the capital and the intention to acquire land for myself. This is going to be a smaller piece of land and tokenize it. But I believe that at the moment, the only possibility to do this is to have a company that owns the land. And this is something that I wanted to discuss. If there is any like workaround for an individual to tokenize the assets, or is just this path that needs to be done to incorporate a company that basically owns the land and tokenize it for this business model to work. I don't know if that makes sense.
Yeah, makes a lot of sense, Alvaro. I mean, I'm not going to touch upon the business model. That's something I don't actually know about that much. But you know, it's something that I guess it's in many countries in Europe. But in the Netherlands, I know that the housing there's a big housing crisis. So potential for this actually turning into reality is quite high, I guess. In terms of tokenizing real estate assets that are owned by individuals currently, I mean, we do have a model that we see that could be applied. There's still research, however, being done on the legal side, and that has been kind of going on and off for those who follow for a year now, if not even more. Because there's implications like inheritance, etc., that need to be kind of well understood, and there's different approaches in different jurisdictions that come with this. But we're getting closer and closer to a solution that stands, let's say, and it doesn't crush. So currently, basically, to tokenize a property and sell tokens of that asset to gain liquidity, it's through a corporate entity, like an SPV or any kind of legal entity that can basically execute a resolution. So this is the only way. But the opportunity that Blocksquare kind of presents for real estate owners like Taro, and we have Primoz here, and I think others as well, is just that learn to earn kind of opportunity by tokenizing the real estate assets for the purpose of staking, where the ownership is not transferred through the transfer of tokens, but is retained. Yeah. And that process is being applied to assets of individuals as well as assets owned by a company. So both are being used, just because this transfer of obligations or of value is not being, not really changing hands, but it's staying in the hands of the same owner, just being digitized. And that kind of is a way to earn BST and learn through the process, just how is this thing done, right? So that you take the first baby step, let's say, and maybe even earn through that process. You're getting rewarded for learning, but we see that the value that this process is bringing is quite immense, because it's getting more and more people interested in the way we tokenize real estate. And on the other side is getting the assets much closer to being accessible for the community of people who are interested. But we need to understand that currently the market is mainly focused on supporting growth of protocols like Blocksquares to grow. While the adoption of real estate assets as a viable, long-term investment is something that we foresee is going to come in the next 5 years, and not at the present moment. So I think that if the investment is not really lucrative, it's going to be hard to let's say tokenize an asset worth 5 million, for instance. But a 500K asset, then I think that's achievable.
Okay, understood. Thank you for answering.
Do we have some regional hubs related questions maybe that we've missed? Julia, Cody.
There's a question in the chat that Zairi asked. He said, earning points, educational content, what platforms are supported for valid content broadcast? And I think I could answer that one for him. So as far as educational content, if you're doing online or even in-person educational content, everything has to go through the Eventbrite platform. And so just like today, I sent you guys to the Eventbrite platform to come here, right? So you guys can use any outside links, URLs, so forth to host events or host meetings or host educational webinars, whatever that is. But everything has to trace back to the Eventbrite account. So hopefully that kind of makes sense. Again, you guys can use whatever you want. You get a URL, we'll import that URL into an Eventbrite event, and then that's how we are tracking everything through the Eventbrite. So hopefully that will answer your question, Zairi. And hopefully somebody else has some questions. This not all the time we have Denis and Julia here to answer some questions for us. So whatever you guys can think of, get some out. Oh, so Taru got a nice question here. If an asset owner wants to share their staking reward with an ambassador, is there a smart contract already in place for that agreement?
Taru, can you tell us a bit more about this idea?
Sure. So if we educate a property owner and convince them to participate, they'll earn the staking reward from the BST. And can they share that with the ambassador without me and that asset owner having to have a separate agreement? Can it be done in the system?
Okay. What is implemented in the system is that companies that register as certified partners, the certified partners are not necessarily marketplace operators, but are companies that will tokenize real estate under their own token symbol. These certified partners earn 10% of the staked rewards of the asset owners earn through the process. So at the time of withdrawal, 10% goes to the certified partner. In the case of Ocean Point, most properties are tokenized under Ocean Point, and those 10% go to the governance board, and the BST that is earned is being burned through that process, for instance. But we have certified partners like TechStack, for instance, in Australia, and Arms & McGregor in Dubai, and then those certified partners that also run their own marketplaces. Those are earning that fee. Yes.
Most useful. Thank you.
While for ambassadors, to go forward with this, for ambassadors, we have a different model with where we reward in paid out in BST for each asset they bring before basically when it's tokenized, and based on either if the asset is owned by an individual or if the asset is owned by a company. and if it's a revenue earning asset or not. We have certain earning models. I think Julia, you could shed some more light there on how this is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So first of all, the difference is as well that ambassadors are getting paid commission anyways. So it doesn't matter if the property is being staked or not. It doesn't matter if the property is being unstaked or not, or sold. The ambassador is getting a fixed commission. So and that depends on the value that the property or the kind of property brings to the ecosystem. So if it's a property that is privately owned without revenue, then it's a small fee of $50. If it's a property that is privately owned but revenue generating, that is a little bit more valuable for the ecosystem, so that's $150. And if it's a property owned in a company name that is revenue generating, then it's $250. And we said if the property ever turns in the future into an offering, then there could be like a bonus, but we didn't have that case yet. So that is basically, and the commissions are basically being paid then on the quarterly basis in BST. Whether they're certified partners, for example, until they get all their commission, that can take a couple of years or however long that real estate owner is staking their properties.
Okay, I hope this answers your questions, not Toru. And I think we have a question here by Zaire. Saw something about allocating 4,000 BST by ambassadors along the presentation. What does that mean? So basically what it means is, so far, to form a regional hub, you had to be a group of 5 ambassadors. And what happened is that Cody got back to us and said, look, there's a lot of ambassadors that really want to do this and are eager to start, but they're having a hard time finding another 4 ambassadors to join and form a regional hub with, because currently people are just scattered around the world too much. It's hard to find people that are based in the same city or based in the same country even, right? And so we were discussing how to kind of unblock this situation. And we said, look, what if we create the opportunity for ambassadors to start running a regional hub without requiring to engage another 4 ambassadors? You can go, to the registration page, go through the process of registering, and in the form where you are submitting, all the ambassadors of the hub, you just type in your name and that's it. And now you have formed your own regional hub. And what you can start doing with this, you can start basically competing for the quarterly pot by creating events. And these hubs will not have full membership, but they will have 1 or 2 people maybe. And for each member in the hub, they will be contributing to the pot 4,000 BST. So if it's a hub with it's a solo hub, it's 4,000. If it's a hub with 3 ambassadors, it's 12,000. And for the first quarter, these hubs are eligible to earn and to contribute into the pot. But the second quarter, they will need to have full membership. So they have like 3 months time running their hub to gather other ambassadors in their region or outside of it, basically to join them and to kind of start collaborating together. Does this
touch on that point real quick? One of the questions I did have from quite a bit of ambassadors was, is there an incentive to bring more ambassadors? Well, with this new allocation of adding 4,000 BST for each ambassador, this kind of gives you an incentive to bring more people on. So if you are by yourself or wanting to run things, every ambassador you do bring in will allocate an additional 4,000 BST for ambassadors. So this gives you guys also a little bit of incentive to, one, grow your hub so you guys can be an official hub after the first quarter, but also to bring in ambassadors to allocate more rewards for the pool for everybody to compete for. So just want to touch on that.
I think also, just to add here something, to have more ambassadors in your hub also gives you the opportunity to get more points, because, for example, the biggest point incentive we can get is if we're bringing in a marketplace operator, for example. So that is the biggest allocation. That's the biggest reward in terms of points. And the more ambassadors you have in your hub, the higher the chances are to actually collect more points, because you have more manpower. And that yet alone is the main incentive, I would say, because the more points you collect, the bigger your portion on the big pool in the end is going to be in the overall global competition.
Good point. Rick from Bruges, or maybe already from Warsaw. I know that you are going to Warsaw. Go ahead. Can you unmute? Yeah, Rick, you're muted. If you unmute yourself. Okay, perfect.
One way or another, I cannot. I haven't. Do you understand me?
We can hear you. Yeah, we can hear you. I can't see you, but we can hear you.
I tried to unmute my camera, but one way or another, it's blocked. I don't know why. I'm Rick from this. Our company is Odevar. We are actually based in Bruges, which is 1 hour drive from Brussels, which is really the central of Europe. Let's say we are involved in tokenization of some real estate since 3 years now with Denis and his team. Meanwhile, we have 5 properties tokenized. We're on a specific niche market of guest houses in the vacation rental market. So must say I'm very positive about the whole project, and becoming an ambassador is actually the next step. The first step we did the tokenization. The second step we did the staking of the properties with a 10% staking, and maybe the next step will be that we actually do we work on the marketplace and we exchange. As an ambassador now, I'm going to the blockchain congress in Warsaw. I'm, to be honest, not a blockchain expert, but I've tried to read a lot about it, and for me it's interesting. I think one of the points is because Blocksquare is in a specific niche market of blockchain, which, as I saw the picture about Larry Fink and BlackRock, it gets a lot of attention, and what would be interesting maybe is a bit to do it like one of the biggest crypto exchanges is doing, Binance, is that you make a sort of Binance Academy or Blocksquare Academy in which you explain all the aspects of real-world asset tokenization and real estate. And this will bring you a lot of organic search, because I've seen the way you do the Ocean Point docs now. They are very didactic. They are in a very good, understandable way. And maybe it's an option to do a sort of Blocksquare real world assets academy, like Binance is doing for the crypto world, and explaining the definitions in let's say in an easy way. I have a question. When we do go to congresses and we meet people who are of interest, people from real estate, people who are interested to do the tokenization. It would be maybe an option. I already discussed it with Cody, that we have a sort of email address, blocksquare.io email address, to forward our contacts to you guys, if this is possible. I don't know if this is discussable or not.
I think it's a good suggestion, Rick, and I think the best thing is just doing an intro. You just send an email. You should get the contact that you received yourself, and then just do an introduction of that person to Cody, for instance, as your kind of point of contact for regional hubs and ambassadors. And then Cody can loop in the relevant people in the sales team, or how to approach it, because sometimes we then need to maybe discuss some of the details on that contact before we reach out to them, so that we know how to best approach and so forth. I personally had more than 500 calls with people interested in real estate tokenization in the past years. I'm not involved in those calls anymore. Thankfully, thank God. But there's people much more capable than I am doing that. But that got us a lot of learning and understanding of the personas that are really kind of interested in the real estate tokenization sector. And we are able to categorize them and offer them what actually they're looking for, and not trying, to guess. So I think just going with that contact first to Cody, and then maybe to Jure, or directly to Jure and Cody. That's, I think, the best way of approaching this. Yeah.
Okay, perfect.
He was also asking if the ambassadors could have their own email address with the Blocksquare name.
Yeah, it can also be sort of info at or ambassador at blocksquare.io address. But if what I mean, when I go, for instance, to that Congress now in Warsaw,
okay,
I print out the business cards with the Blocksquare logo, with my title ambassador. I talk with people, and then the business cards, needs an email address. And of course, there are a lot of leads coming maybe, and they have to be directed to the good person, because you don't want a tsunami of leads going to Denis or Cody, but maybe some ambassador at blocksquare.io. I don't know if this.
Doing this kind of email address, it's perfectly possible, actually. The question would be, how do we know through which ambassador that lead came through, right? Because it would be then just all addressing that same email. Let me go back to the team and maybe come back with a suitable technical solution. And then we see. Okay. I don't have the answer right now, but I think it's a good suggestion that we need to figure out. Yeah.
Okay, perfect.
In general, I think that if you run your own regional hub, I think every hub should have a hub email. So you can, also if you, for example, the Perth hub after the meetups wanted to reach out to the people who visited the last meetup and so on. So it's good to have maybe an official email, which can be a simple Gmail account you're setting up, or we're creating one with Blocksquare, which we need to discuss internally. But I think every hub should, like any business you would start, should create its own email address for official correspondence and business cards and all this kind of stuff. So people know how to reach you as well after they met you.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
Okay, perfect. Is there, I know that it's like we planned it for an hour and a half. Don't want to take anybody's time, but any last question that we have, or anything, any remarks that somebody wants to say? All right.
I will ask question,
Yeah,
but I
go.
worry is maybe too early or difficult, because I was talking to people which are interested in real estate and blockchain, and they ask me, this is about only the economic rights you're tokenizing? How about the ownership and title? I own the property. So my question is, in the future, will it be possible to tokenize or even NFT the title, and even defragmentate it? I said it could be maybe a difficult question, but they will be happy to know approximate answer to something like this.
Unfortunately, we don't have the answer to it, but I think that's kind of something that the world is going towards. Will governments allow this, and in what form, and on what blockchain infrastructure, etc.? That's all to be seen, right? Property title, it's a very sacred thing, or the core, let's say, of any government, economy, country, if you will, and putting these titles, title deeds on chain might make it more transparent, or less prone to fraud, perhaps, or maybe even easier to transact because of it. But there's other aspects from legislation that also come with it. In Slovenia, for instance, the land registry is an open book. Anybody can access the data to it and see a lot of things about it if you have the right information to search. But in many other countries, that's not the case. It's actually privately held, siloed data. So and there's regulation around it for keeping it that way. So yeah, I don't know. I don't have the answer. I know that what we can do now is tokenizing the economic rights, so that part of the bundle of rights that comes with ownership, but as well, the right to use it could be tokenized if that is structured on the legal side of the tokenization just as well. Yeah.
Thank you very much.
I can maybe say something about this topic about tokenization of commercial rights. Maybe it goes faster than we think, because the industry we are in is in the vacation rental industry. So we are in the guest houses, and actually our business is coming from international tourists, a bit like Ljubljana in Bruges here. So the customers come via the OTAs, the online travel platforms, Airbnb and Booking. And there are some, when you go to vacation rental congresses, there's a lot going on about regulations. And one of the regulations that is coming is that Europe is more or less, and it's going to start in the summer, that the OTA platforms, Airbnb and Booking, will have the obligation to report every transaction to Europe. So if you do a tokenization of your vacation rental real estate, it will be known because of the feedback that Airbnb and Booking is giving to Europe. So it's sort of open book transaction. So I think for this kind of business, it will be quite transparent, and it goes quite fast, I think, the EU regulations, because every congress you go about vacation rentals, it's about EU regulations, tax, transparency. If it's an advantage or not, we will see.
So you're basically saying that, sorry, just question. Yeah, you're basically saying that the tokenization of these economic rights could really help because it would create the bookkeeping basically for these kind, or like, yeah.
Transparent.
Yeah.
Let's say if you do, if you have a, guest house in Ljubljana, or you have it in Bruges, and you rent it out, you work with different channels. So your clients come from Airbnb, from booking multiple channels, and also your direct bookings. With your direct bookings, you can be intransparent.
Yes.
Not transparent, but as we know now, the economic reality is that 99% of your bookings come from OTAs and come maybe 1% from direct bookings. So investing in websites and Google AdWords is not profitable. It's more interesting to invest in, to work with OTAs, online travel agencies. Although you pay the commission of 12 to 16% maybe, but yeah, 90% of your clients come via these OTAs. And if these regulations come, Europe will know everything what you're doing. So the economic rights will be quite transparent from tokenization point of view. So,
which would add the security and value to the tokenization of economic rights, because then you can guarantee that the revenue has been distributed, or is being distributed. That's the proof basically that's missing at the moment. Yeah.
When we with our company say we're going to sell 10% of the company, and tokenization, real estate, tokenized real estate, that we're going to sell the economic rights. Yeah, somebody from Germany will say, but okay, what's the transparency of, you offer me, I buy 10%, but will I have the 100% economic benefits of it? Will you not hide it for me? And with the EU legislations coming, and especially tax regulations, I can say we only work with these two platforms, or three platforms. We are obliged to yeah, they know more about us than maybe our own bookkeeper knows, because Airbnb is reporting to them, to the EU. Yeah. So maybe it goes faster than we think. I think personally that for your business, that things like underground parking garage, public underground parking garage, student housing, that this is an interesting business for tokenization and selling economic rights. My opinion. Oh, Denis, what do you think about it?
Thank you, Rick, for sharing. I think, you know, we're really agnostic on what type of real estate assets are being tokenized. Are they cash flowing or not? Are they land, like Alvaro is suggesting, that don't have cash flow? And yeah, and I think that gives a lot of opportunities for others to build a certain business type or marketplace type in their region, based on the access of assets they have. The angle you guys have is short-term rental, because you have those kind of assets, and you could easily create or easily become, over time, a marketplace that attracts other people in that short-term rental business to extract some liquidity, partially, let's say, or in full, from the assets they have to grow their portfolios, maybe, or to divest into other assets in Web3, because nonetheless, a lot of people are also having a big, a big struggle bridging their wealth from the real world onto Web3, where there's, these new opportunities coming up that are much more interesting sometimes than the returns you have in the real world. And on the other side, you have vice versa, the challenge of bridging wealth created in Web3 to the real world, where you can kind of attain tangible assets that kind of enrich your life in 3D, not just on a screen. But Alvaro, you have a last question, or the raised hand.
Yes, yes.
And then we will need to say goodbye, because I think in 20 minutes we have the other schedule, and we need to redo it, and my voice is not working anymore.
Yeah,
Right.
thank you for having this last question. I don't know if it is already in place, a channel or a point of contact for questions that might arise, mostly in legal matters or regulations matters, because I have, for instance, contacts of real estate developers, big developers in Latin America, and now I am getting access to other developers in Europe. But for instance, one of their concerns was at some point, if by tokenizing assets and selling it through Ocean Point, they would incur in the need of have a license to sell securities or stuff like that. And I guess there's still some legal uncertainty around this. So I don't know if there's someone from Blocksquare team that can help us out to figure out how to make this sort of deals happen,
Yeah. The legal is a lot of times when you're trying to get a new client on board for tokenizing real estate. Legal is, everything is fine and dandy, and then legal part is there's uncertainty. But thankfully, with the regulation, at least in Europe, that is evolving, those answers are being more and more precise. We are still in a transition period where MiCA has not come into effect, and where MiFID II is the only regulation that is applicable. And MiFID II has very clear guidance, but some regulators would say that the tokens of the way we tokenize real estate, they don't fall under the securities category and don't fall under MiFID II. In other jurisdictions, they would say the opposite. So that to avoid this kind of confusion, our compliance team can definitely help out. And we have just recently partnered with CMS Law, where we are basically in the process of incorporating a separate legal entity in Luxembourg, where that will kind of facilitate the notarization of real estate assets across the board. And take as well some of that licensing burden, regulatory burden from real estate owners, to simplify the process and make it possible for larger assets to become accessible in a safe manner to individuals, so the retail market. Yeah.
Okay, that's great. Thank you, Denis.
All right. It was a real pleasure talking and seeing everybody here. Thanks for taking the time. For some, it's early. For some, it's late. For me, it's 4 p.m. So I have 15 minutes to grab something to eat just before our next meeting. And Julia, Cody, hope. Well, I see you in 15 minutes, I guess. Yes. All right.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, everyone.
Yeah.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
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 Yeah.
That was on the Eventbrite, which I need to get on a screen here to find them. But if anybody that is with us today. If you guys have any questions, it's not so often that we have both Denis and Julia's time. So they will absolutely help answer some questions for you guys, or myself as well. And if you don't want to speak, you guys can always use the chat to ask your questions. So I'm going to open up the floor and leave it to you guys.
I'll go. So I guess the question is, let's say, so, I live in the US, and, we don't have the ability to actually buy BSPT tokens, obviously. So let's say we hold a meetup, and a few people come. I think it's really cool, but they're not really interested in being part of, like, being an ambassador. They just think that the technology is really cool. They'd like to sort of be involved. What would be, like, outside of being an ambassador, knowing that they can't right now purchase BSPT tokens, what how can they get involved? Like, what is the draw for someone to sort of enter into the ecosystem outside of those two things, of being an ambassador or getting tokens, or getting BSPT tokens?
I could take that one. One, they can get involved in governance. They can buy the BST token, and they can stake that and be a part of the governance program, which in the long term is technically owning, part of the real estate that Ocean Point owns. So Ocean Point gets fees, which contributes to BST into the governance program. So Americans like myself, I'm an American as well, I can fully participate in the governance protocol and build up the network and so forth as well. So that would be the major selling point. Also, they can also tokenize properties. So you can still sell them tokenization, but not necessarily of buying and selling the real estate. They can tokenize their property and put it onto Ocean Point to stake their property and earn the BST reward as well. So that would be another incentive to sell Americans. Maybe Denis or Julia might want to expand on that.
The thing is that we are building an ecosystem of people who are interested in this, not by looking at where it's possible today, but also looking at where it's possible tomorrow. And from today to tomorrow, the only difference is that there's a marketplace operator in the US willing to utilize Blocksquare technology and run a marketplace in competition to Realty, for instance. And Realty is a company that has developed their own technology for tokenizing real estate, and they have been doing quite well. They have tokenized a lot of properties in, I believe, in the US, located in the US under US regulation. And so it doesn't mean that tokenizing real estate and purchasing tokenized real estate is not possible in the US. It's just the marketplace of Ocean Point, because of regulatory risks and uncertainty with the SEC in the US, we are opting out of this, because then we're closing the doors for many real estate owners to offer tokens through Ocean Point. However, if there's a US regulated marketplace that runs on our tech and our legal framework, that's perfectly fine then for US citizens to purchase into those tokens that would be offered through various regulatory exemptions like 506B or and so forth. And I think that's the status right now. But with regional hubs, we believe that a marketplace operator based out of the US could emerge quite quickly, as opposed to now, where the knowledge about this is fairly limiting.
Okay, thank you.
Sure. Thanks for the question. I know we have Moises here, who is a certified partner of Blocksquare, and you have been especially focusing on community building. Maybe you can chip in with your experience of how you are doing this without the regional hubs kind of to support your efforts. And now with regional hubs, probably that additional revenue will come in handy for you. And I know you're targeting the Spanish-speaking population from out of Spain, right?
Yeah, exactly. Well, hello, Denis, and the rest of the people. Incredible job that you are doing, all the team. Exactly. In my case, I'm a marketplace operator and as well a regional ambassador. So I'm working from the two sides to trying to build the community, and all the materials are all the BST prices, all this kind of programs that you offer us, or the possibilities that we have with you are incredible. That's it. I'm right now struggling, and I promise it's coming. It's coming shortly. Okay, but when you have, we are really small, and when you have the hat of a CEO, the hat of a marketing expert, and the hat of a commercial guy, it's all the things coming at the same time, so you have to prioritize. But yes, in my case, promote Tokenized marketplace at the same time, Blocksquare, but on top Ocean Point, which is for me the key here, because I see the secondary market in the future. The DeFi protocol is a huge help for us. So thank you. We'll get in touch quite frequently in the coming months. Also, I'm trying to, as you say, Denis, move the Spanish-speaking community. So if is there any other regional ambassador, I don't mind if this in Spain or in Latin America or whoever, but speak Spanish, we could find synergies and organize that online event as a Spanish community, not located in one country, but that may work as a hub as well.
Do you see as a startup that, like you mentioned, wearing different hats? Do you see as a startup that would really kind of form a team around running a regional hub, as the team being ambassadors and running a regional hub? That might be a way to also finance certain, let's say, the startup itself in a way, right? Because it could provide, at least initially, some kind of paycheck of sorts. It would be a helpful money injection if it's for at least 2 quarters or something, right?
Yeah, exactly. Because as Julia mentioned before, when we talk about tokenization or real world asset tokenization, it's really tricky to find someone that knows about real estate, knows about tokenization, knows about everything, no? All the skills together. So in order to form that regional hub, it doesn't matter if you don't know everything. No? It's influencers or real estate experts or whatever could join together and share its own view that enrich the common view and the hub itself. So
and you might be surprised, because maybe once when you run the first event, then suddenly you might meet someone in your city who is actually working right now as well to setting up a marketplace or something. Like for example, I met in Perth someone at our meetup who comes from who basically now lives in Perth, came to our meetup, but just moved from Dubai and tried to tokenize and set up his marketplace in Dubai already for a while, and now is in Perth. So like sometimes you have people showing up who you would never expect them to be there and do exactly then, like setting up a real estate tokenization marketplace. But then they just show up at these events because they try to connect with the same people. So maybe once you do the first event, then that's going to be exactly what's going to happen in the Spanish market as well. They're going to come from left, right, and center. We don't have another, like we have a couple of international communities on Telegram now, which are all community-led as well. And we don't have the Spanish one, but we now have a Portuguese one with 200 members now as well. So that market is for that language speaking countries is growing now nicely as well, community-wise. But yeah, you're the first one for the Spanish. You're leading Spain.
our starting point also, we are already creating content, but not publishing, but creating content. Our starting point is from an educational point of view as well, because not only Web3, real estate tokenization, but also each country has its own regulations, let's say, that is important to address as well. So, yeah.
Good. Do we have maybe any other questions? Or Cody, I know you mentioned there were some questions posted through Eventbrite.
Yeah, one thing I wanted to mention real quick is if you did have any content that could be shared, just general content that's in Spanish, send it my way and I can add it to the Google Drive and the community drive, because I do have some other ambassadors in South America that are also looking for generalized tokenization content in Spanish. So
sure, I will do, because we are creating a lot. We are start creating how-to videos on YouTube, and also I don't like, but it is a must. I will be a TikToker soon, so I will see you all. So that's the thing. Let's try each challenge to see what's work. Fine. So, yep.
Good thing you're not in America.
We had a Spanish YouTuber. He did a video as well about Blocksquare. I think we can share that probably as well for the drive.
For sure. I will just to give you some insight about Tokenized. Sorry to move the, but we are entering in an accelerator program where I will be the next 6 months 100% full time on this project. So I
awesome.
think the time is now, and we are ready with Blocksquare help and support the community. I'm pretty sure that we will get it as well. The European regulation is being transformed in Spain, and soon I will give you some news that we will have the ability to unlock all the Blocksquare functionality in Spain.
Nice.
And so for the Eventbrite, we did have a couple questions. One was just answered. One is really long, that really has nothing to do with Regional Hub, so I'm going to skip that one. But we do have two of them that are very similar. And it's asked, how do we refer real estate firms or real estate companies to the team? And it's just a general thing, and hopefully we can answer that.
I mean, from the perspective of running some kind of sales and referring, I think the best thing is to always just create an introduction email, or you can if you have a contact of them through LinkedIn, that's also a good place to do business introductions. In crypto, a lot of times Telegram is used, but maybe email is the simplest way of doing it. And Cody here is for regional hubs, the kind of the connecting person within the core team. And he will loop in the relevant people from our sales team, who will then take over and drive the person through our general kind of sales funnel. Sometimes, giving a bit of background, where you met that person, or, how well do you know them, and things like that come in handy. And maybe as an ambassador, you will be also asked to kind of join the first meeting on a video call. so that this kind of introduction and kind of handover is conducted as swiftly, as smoothly as possible. Do you think this answers the question?
I think that's good. I also had one question for Julia that kind of just came up. One of the concerns that I had from some ambassadors was the cost of hosting these events. And looking at your event in Perth was absolutely, ideal. You have the perfect representation of what these hubs kind of should look like. In your first event, you had a video, it was great. I think some people might be wondering, what did that event cost? So maybe you can kind of speak on that aspect, Julia.
Normally the room would have cost something, but because very often if you say you are a meetup group, so if you're not an organization, if you are a meetup group, very often you can get rooms for free. So in this case, because RWA had so much interest for the convention, but they didn't have really any events plans for it. So they underestimated the demand for RWA. And only when they actually when they announced basically that, Blocksquare speaking and so on, this is when they got a lot of interest in the topic, when they saw, oh, this is actually a really good topic. So when I offered them, look, the hub would do a meetup if you sponsor the facility, then we do it. So WA Web3 in that case, they sponsored the room at the university. They paid for it, and we got the room for free. And we didn't have any cost for marketing or anything. Cody, you helped a lot with setting up the Eventbrite event, and we had the templates to use. So we had basically the marketing material templates were all there. We had to, because it was the first meetup, it was, we were, working close together. Our regional chair was working very close together with Cody on that to actually get the right, set up in Eventbrite and all of that, get the right format for the template and so on. Lido had to redesign a little bit. But so a lot of things we figured out in the process. But we didn't have expenses that we normally would have if we would need to pay for room or something like that.
Maybe here to add to this, not in the experience that Julia, you just described organizing that meetup, but when running meetups for Fibri, they were not incentivized. There was no basically payment. It was just, own resources. How we would organize them is we had morning events, and we picked up a bar that was not like a bar, that was not a coffee shop, let's say, that was not busy in the morning hours. And they had like a separate space that you could close the door, and we brought like a screen there to do a presentation. And the only thing that they would charge us is kind of a breakfast of sorts that cost, I think, like, I don't know, 10 bucks per person. So that was like something that everybody who came, they came to this kind of business breakfast format, and they paid 10 bucks to get coffee and a croissant. And that was all, right? So it was a paid event, but we didn't, we didn't sell tickets to make it. It's just anybody who came, paid 10 bucks and that was it.
Yeah, we did the Purse Up did the same as well. Like in 1 week after the main event, they did another like a round table breakfast in a cafe as well. It was in a like separate area. It was actually a cafe where they're running once a month Bitcoin meetups anyways. So the guys knew already, like, going to this location and so on. And the same concept there was, you're attending a free event. You have two choices as a regional hub as well. You can either offer the event for free, or you actually charge as well for it. And then if you charge, you can say, okay, you're including the breakfast or whatsoever. You know, that's another thing, because then at least, you know, every ticket you're selling, people are actually going to join. They're going to rock up. It's no 50-50 chance if you're going to have 30 people coming or not. Like if somebody buys a ticket, normally they show up. So that's another way as well. You can, if you want, you can charge for events as well to finance them.
Plus
or another option would be to get another sponsor as well, in like a legal firm or something who want to be part of it.
Or a lot of another option is, well, this comes in for the second quarter, I would say, running events, where in the first quarter you have done a couple of events, a couple of simple meetups, you have earned a share in the pot, and you can allocate as a regional chair. You can decide to allocate 10, 15 or whatever amount to the regional hub's wallet, which basically becomes a treasury for the regional hub to operate on other events, and be able to kind of organize more events, or organize more quality events, afford better venues, and so forth, without selling tickets even. So that's, you know, your strategy, how you're going to shape the financial structure of the hub with the other regional ambassadors that join in. And yeah.
Often, for example, a good place to get free presentation space is co-working places as well. They like to sponsor and support meetup groups.
Any other questions?
Maybe Vladimir or Brent can. Do you have any remarks or questions based on the discussion we had today? Then I guess we can, I assume, conclude this session. Was a much quieter session than the previous one. I guess everybody was eager to be at the assembling, and they picked up that hour. But in any case, thanks everybody for coming. Thank you for your time. I hope that the session was informative. And to highlight a couple, three things, I would say we have an interesting allocation on a monthly basis that is reserved for regional hubs development. We have lifted the 5 ambassadors obligation, so you can do your solo entrepreneur quarter, running your own regional hub on your own or with another ambassador, if you will, and get things going. And last but not least, the Fibri RWA Meetups Challenge that is coming in a month and a half is going to bring a lot more competition to regional hubs. And we believe that you all have a head start now to earn BST through this process. And you should not wait, but you should maybe act right away to start running your meetup. That's it. Thank you, everyone. We have Moises and Brent still on the call, and that's it. I'm gonna log off. Been a long day. Cody, anything you want to add?
The last thing I'm going to say is to Brent, be on the lookout for an email. I'm going to send you an email right now with the link to the ambassador agreement. So if you're still wanting to be an ambassador, please go ahead and go to the link and sign the agreement.